Harvard and a bunch of other elite colleges are responding to Trump's election in the most pathetic way imaginable. Harvard is responding to the election in the most pathetic way I've ever seen. As the Harvard Crimson reports, Harvard professors are canceling classes as students feel blue after Trump's win. Students awoke to a somber campus following Donald Trump's re-election to the presidency early Wednesday morning, with one saying, "My heart dropped a little bit." The story opens with an anecdote about how the college dean, Rakesh Khurana, met with students over breakfast and told them to let yourself feel a bunch of emotions about how this is going to impact us in the future and listen to other people and how they feel about it too. I wonder if that includes the students who voted for Trump and are feeling positive right now. Something tells me it probably doesn't, but hey, maybe I'm wrong. Now here's where things get truly pathetic. A number of professors at this elite university canceled their classes or made them optional or did other ridiculous things in response to an election result that hurts their fees. As the Crimson reports, some professors also encouraged students to process in the aftermath of the election, adjusting course requirements in kind. Courses such as Sociology 1156, Statistics for Social Sciences, and Applied Math, Solving and Optimizing, as well as general education courses like the Ancient Greek Hero and Popular Culture in Modern China, among them, canceled their Wednesday classes, made attendance optional, or extended assignment deadlines. Meanwhile, all across the country, actual adults went to their grown-up jobs like big boys, and even if they weren't happy with how the election went about their responsibilities like normal. Now, thanks to the Crimson, we even get to look at some of the emails the professors sent out. Economics lecturer Maxim Boyoko wrote in a Wednesday email to students that the course's typical in-class quizzes would be optional. As we recover from the eventful election night and process the implications of Trump's victory, please know that class will proceed as usual today, except that classroom quizzes will not be for credit. Feel free to take time off if needed. I'm sorry, but if you need to take time off because an election didn't go your way, you're so distraught, you're incapable of going about your normal life or going to class and taking an attendance quiz, not exactly a final exam, then you don't belong at America's most elite colleges. You belong in remedial therapy because you lack the emotional function and regulation of an adult. Meanwhile, physics professor Jennifer Hoffman wrote in an email to physics students and faculty that her office would be a space to process the election. Many in our community are sleep deprived, again grieving for glass ceilings that weren't shattered, fearful for the future, or embarrassed to face our international colleagues, she wrote. I stress-baked several pans of lemon bars to share. Stress-baked? Really? I do love lemon bars though. Oh. Unsurprisingly, some students took advantage of this and didn't go to classes that were made optional or opted out of the different assignments that were made optional, all because of the election. Harvard student Jack Kelly told the newspaper he was tempted to say no to class today because he had some professors that were like, if you need to not come to class, that's understandable. Jack added that this definitely takes a toll on people's mental well-being. Now, some of the smart people I follow on Twitter had some incisive commentary on this development. Fire's Alex Morey wrote, "What are we doing here, guys? College is supposed to get students ready for the real world, model how we get back to work." And my friend Billy Binion of Reason wrote, "This is pitiful. Harvard is supposed to attract the best and brightest. The vast majority of society does not get to hit pause on life when something doesn't go their way." Amen to that. But unfortunately, guys, it was not just Harvard that pulled this kind of ridiculous stunt and pathetic pandering and indulgences after the election result. It was many of Americans' elite colleges. As the College Fix reports, classes at Harvard, Penn, Columbia, Swarthmore, and many others were canceled over Trump's win, including one example right in my own backyard, Michigan State University, where one professor sent out this email that is just so deliciously absurd. Michigan State University professor Shagla Bora said in a Wednesday memo to students, "I am canceling class today to grieve the presidential election results. As a queer, immigrant woman of color, I cannot, in good conscience, go on about my day like everything is all right." She continued, "This is a major historical event that we are witnessing. I hope you take this time to take care of yourself. I'm sorry, but she should be fired or at least professionally sanctioned. If you can't do your job because you're so distraught over an election result, you don't have the mental fortitude to be a teacher or professor at America's elite institutions, at least not in a serious world that takes academia seriously and doesn't allow it to transform into a pathetic joke. But that's what this is. It's a pathetic joke. These universities charge people tens and tens of thousands of dollars and somehow are still considered elite. Yet they close down and make things optional and act like it's an adult daycare just because a Republican wins an election. I mean, the hypocrisy and the bias and the double standard here is crazy. Do you think they would have done any of this if Harris had won? For the Trump students who would have been unhappy with the result? No, they would have been expected to get out of bed the next day and go about their life like adults. And you know what? That'd be fair. That'd be a fair expectation. But there's a total double standard here. And now that Trump wins, all these people are allowed to be triggered and sob into their pillow all day instead of being expected to go to class like adults. And when classes are canceled, that screws over the many students who I'm sure aren't mental toddlers, who do want to go get their money's worth and these thousands of dollars they're paying per course actually be taught. But no, so that's why I think it's so unacceptable for professors. Making stuff optional is one thing. It is pathetic, right? But it's one thing. Canceling classes over this is scamming students who are paying thousands of dollars to learn from you because you don't feel like doing your job because your fifis are hurt. That's not just pathetic, it's wildly unprofessional. I mean, it just seems increasingly difficult to deny that America's elite institutions of higher education are becoming a joke. They're still leading the world in some forms of recognition and prestige, but I just don't think that's going to continue for very long when this kind of social rot is so deeply embedded into these institutions and is corroding it from within. They're also doing their students a disservice because the real world doesn't work like this. You don't get to just not go to work because you don't feel like it because your feelings are hurt. In fact, you probably have a limited number of sick days and a very limited amount of vacation time, depending what socioeconomic sphere you're in or what kind of line of work. Your kids that you have to take care of, your obligations, your responsibilities don't go away because you're feeling emotional that day. Like, you are not adequately preparing college students for the real world whatsoever with this kind of nonsense, which is what colleges are supposed to do, but they're so increasingly detached from that these days. It's really remarkable and really concerning. So on one hand, I want to laugh at these people and just make fun of them and laugh at this like it's another ridiculous story from college campuses and academia, because it is, and it is funny, it is amusing. But it's also actually a real problem with real consequences that we can and should be concerned about, especially when this is happening at public universities that are taxpayer funded. Then we should actually be demanding that state legislatures put in place policies prohibiting professors from doing this kind of thing, from ripping off their students and coddling and infantilizing them at the same time, because you should not be allowed to pull that crap on the taxpayer's dime.